Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I am in Austin, Texas, and let me tell you, I have quite an interview for you. We're going to be talking to the CEO of Arc Dynamics, Louis, and again, we're in Austin. Yesterday, I was able to see the simulator at his workshop, and I was able to experience it myself. We're going to be talking a whole lot about that and more, but first, just to get us kicked off, welcome to the show, Louis.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about. I just watched that F1 movie like 2 days ago, and it's kind of fortuitous, I think. I was at the movie with my girlfriend, and I told her, you know, I'd love to try a simulator, something racing or otherwise. And then look at this, like a couple days later, I'm in your workshop, I'm in your laboratory, and I'm over here on the simulator. I'm like, man, God is good.
It is, and the project, as I mentioned to you yesterday, it's full of the synchronicities, and frequencies is the name of the project, right? It's the heart of what we're involved in. Basically, we came upon this whole thing from the wish to get it motion into gaming at an affordable price. That was the heart of what we wanted to get involved in. When we hit upon the idea, which was, direct drive motors instead of actuators which use gears, that started, for me, it was at least the beginning of an amazing journey. It hasn't ended, right? It's just never stopped.
And we're going to get into that and a whole lot more. But first, I want to spend a little bit more time getting to know you as an entrepreneur. Some of the things, and also as an inventor, as a scientist, some of the things we were talking about yesterday about your earlier days. You've had some other business successes and things you've done in the past. Take me back to the beginning. Like, when did you get into, I want to go to the beginning. Talk to me about like when you first knew you had this thing for being an inventor, an invention.
As far back as I can remember.
As a kid? What was your first thing you invented that you remember?
I've done all sorts of things. From a kid, from like 6, 7 years old, I was taking apart fluorescent torches and, because they got high voltage transformers on them, electrocuting my sister.
When you were 6?
Playing. My door for my bedroom, I automated it, so it would open on its own. You step on the thing and it had a motorized. I mean, I was young, yeah.
You had a motor, hold on, you had a motorized door in your bedroom as a kid that you automated.
Yeah.
Amazing, continue. Take me through some more of these inventions. That's what I
was born in Africa. I grew up in Africa, right? So, technology I was always interested in it. I loved my electronics. I loved, anything got to do with the physical shape and feel and holding and fixing, making things work. That was always what I was always interested in. Anything that was broken, I had to fix it. Anything that was working and I couldn't understand it, I had to break it and then fix it. So yes, as far back as I can remember, I've always been, and electronics got my attention, mainly because of the diagrammatical side of things, dyslexia and stuff like that. So I went into electronics, electrical engineering, did a course in electrical and electronic engineering, more on the practical side, Technicon, and then went back to Africa, met Christina, and went.
I want to stay in the early days still a little bit longer before we go forward. So give me high school, college, what were you making back then? What kind of things
high school? I got involved in, again, very lucky, and then the high school I was at is incredible school for what it offered. The facilities that it gave us were far beyond what I see many other people. So very privileged, very fortunate, and very grateful for that. So I got involved in electronics at an age with computers and stuff when they were just starting to.
What year was this roughly? Just roughly?
In the 80s. So you're looking about mid-80s. Yeah, mid-80s.
So this is really
just start of the computers, right?
So we had
electronic.
Silicon Valley wasn't Silicon Valley yet. It was just a suburb.
So right in the early days of that was when I was at high school. I was fortunate, like I said, I got involved in computers. We had just when they started coming in and they brought computers into the schools. And then also electronics. I actually did O-level electronics at that school, which is not many schools offered, especially in Africa. There, I did mixing discs. I was into my audio, so I had a lot of audio amplifiers, mixing discs, inverters, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I was messing with electronics. It's a passion. Right? I love it, and I had something to do always.
Yeah.
I've got a workshop around me at all times.
Yeah.
I'm in there or fixing something or finding something.
That's awesome. So going back to high school, when you were going into college, it probably you just knew like that at this point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The only difference then was I started off at university. I went to a university, purely theoretical, no practical stuff, right? I messed around, didn't get into that, and then I left. I thought, no, this is not going to work out for me.
Yeah.
And I found it.
How did you know that? Stick in that time period. Like, how did you, like Steve Jobs, dropping out and dropping into classes?
It's just boring. It was just, the theory was just, I needed something more practical. And there's
Do you remember the moment when you made that decision?
Yeah, pretty.
Where were you at when you were I can't do this?
Well, in university, but it was really, I didn't spend much time. It was like not even a year. And, because I wasn't, I was there to get something done, and I wasn't enjoying, I wasn't getting into the theoretical
You weren't
stuff.
building, you weren't
exactly.
doing electives
It didn't draw me to that. And then there was a technical institute in Cyprus, which is my own country of my parents. And that was a UNESCO funded institute. And so my biggest issue was language then, right? But because this was an English founded institute, English was one of the languages that was taught, they were teaching in. And the Higher Technical Institute of Cyprus. So that was the one I chose to, went there, and I loved that because it was 50-50, right? 50% practical, 50% theoretical. And
What was that like, applying and being like, all right, I might be let down again? Or was it like, okay, this one you had a better understanding?
No, well, I had to get a tertiary education. And that was,
for sure.
The typical
Your parents were like...
Exactly. So and I did enjoy it. I did, if the topic gets to me, and especially on your third year where you're choosing your own projects and stuff like that, and I picked a complex project which involved robotics from back then.
What year was that roughly?
So 93.
Okay.
No, 96 last year. So 93 I joined. 96. So
robotics was the application.
That was my thesis, but the end project that I chose was a robotics project and muscular dystrophy. So medicine with robotics and electrical measurements of it was actually a nice project. And I got prize and whatever for that. But
wait, a prize? What?
Oh,
come on, man, give me this story. So what happened?
Nothing. It's just the institute itself.
Yeah.
Every year, the best project, whichever project is considered the best project, was chosen to go forward as the prize, and it was me and some other guy.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So now, as you're, let's say, rounding up your college side of things, when you're going into the workforce, maybe you had some ideas of academia, private, invention. Like, what were you thinking? Take me back there. What were you thinking about? What was the next steps for that young Lewis going out to conquer the world and graduating?
Listen, honest truth.
That's what I want. I
had no confidence. I wasn't sure at that point.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah,
And for everybody at home, if you're just graduating, or heck, you're early in your career, welcome to the club. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say I fumbled. I stuck to what I thought I was good at, right? So we made the decision to move back to Zimbabwe after college. And I met Christina, and we went back because Christina was born in South Africa. So we moved to Zimbabwe. And there I started working with my brother. My brother does marketing, and I was helping him with the equipment, electronics, and stuff like that. He was doing direct marketing. So he used to go out into the rural areas with trucks, have audio equipment on there, and do little shows for promotional of Coca-Cola, Lever Brothers, those things. So I was modularized the systems for him, made it a lot more efficient and less costly. And then in that period, I also met up with the owners of Sony in Zimbabwe. They had the Sony agency, and they were looking for a service manager. I was young, but
it's a big brand.
It is, and it's something I was doing all my life, repairing stuff, fixing. Everybody used to come to me, go to do it. So I went into that job. It was that was an eye-opener. That was basically me looking into the corporate world and saying, wow, it's organized, it's intense. I mean, the amount of information you have to ingest and then comprehend the whole system, because it's huge, right?
Yep.
And you're just coming in from nowhere, right?
And I'm guessing the way that you're thinking, you're not thinking like a normal employee. When they go in and they're like just doing their job, you're trying to digest the whole system. Just so you know, when I had my first job and I was out of college, I wasn't thinking about tackling the whole system of, in this case, the Vanguard Group, a $4 trillion company, like, or like I'm thinking. But for you, you go into Sony and you have to digest the whole system. You just think different. I'll just throw that out there, Louis.
Yeah, no, it is. It's massive. It's huge, and it's nice to actually get. And I learned. I mean, I've never ingested that much information in such a short period. But the experience, because, okay, I was put into a managerial position, again, privileged, and I'm very grateful for certain privileges that I'm blessed with. But I did something different. So I then carried on and as much as I could in my life in the different works, because we worked in a very different way later on. But in Sony, the staff that were there were brilliant staff, right? Technical people, so I got on with them, right? Spoke the language. But we ended up spending 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, working together. We bonded, right?
What was that like? That's the first. Was that kind of like that?
It was difficult. Right in the beginning, you got a bit of, pushback because you, obviously, and you're young, right? But I think very quickly I proved myself to everyone else, and they started to respect that. I might have been young, but I had some knowledge of what was going on, and I could fix it.
And you're a problem solver too.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I did there that I liked and I carried forward, which was solving the problem of motivation, right? And it's a complex thing, right? Especially when, first and foremost, within yourself, if you're going to drive something forward, right, you've got to make sure that you're going to drive yourself first and foremost. And I looked into the whole thing and I was like, look, when I got there, it was loss making. The service center was a loss maker for the company. So I went to the managers and I turned around and I said, look, if I turn this into a profit center, are you willing to share the profits with my guys? And I put some decent numbers down, right? I gave them a hell of a big turnaround.
Wow.
Okay? And then from there, I said, all right, share some of the profits with my guys.
Yeah.
And they agreed. And so I took the proposal to the whole team, and that's, when we were spending 2 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the morning working. And we turned the whole company around, well, at least the section. It ended up, the service center became more profitable than the overall agency for that country. Okay, we had people from South Africa bringing their stuff over.
Wow.
And the only difference was that one step of how do I motivate my guys? That was it. As soon as we figured it out that, hey, working together and building something up and then being part of it, taking ownership, having something from it, doesn't have to be ownership, it can be getting something from that work, that was huge, right? And then over and above that, there's the camaraderie, the time that you spend in there. When you're repairing something, when you're fixing something, it's if you're struggling and you get somebody else to help you and they figure it out, it's a team effort and it's a success and it's a dopamine rush. So
if you were to put a percentage on this, and say how much of it was process, like maybe something technical that you implemented versus, let's say, and this might be a bad term for, but soft skills, like the motivation part, or maybe some of the not quite intangibles. What would you say? What would you say the percentage was?
So Sony brought to the table the process side, right? So by the time I wrapped my head around the whole computer network, with that, computers, I had some experience, but now you're dealing with networking, right? And then you're in Africa, third world country, and it was really bad back then as well. And so, equipment breaking down and having that, but Sony forced you to work within their organized network of,
corporation,
and it took me like a year or 2 years, well, almost towards right at the end was when I left and decided to move and come back to Cyprus. But that long to computerize. So when I went there, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So I brought them from nothing to fully integrated with Sony corporate and their network and how they work with their service, right?
Yeah.
Pulling the reporting systems and everything. So we started getting registered inside, and then all of a sudden they started paying attention.
This is where that particular area got to take advantage of the digitization and the new
and
technological
seeing how things
advances.
work.
Yeah.
And then also costings. I mean,
Wow.
I understand it. It's just part of the nature of electrical engineering, right? So when you're in this industry, it's an amazing industry. It's massive. The database that you're dealing with, the electronic component database is huge, right? When you're dealing with a resistor which costs 0.003 cents, right? And you buy a reel of 5,000 for $20, okay? But a guy like Mauser or DigiKey sells you 10 for 10 cents, right? Look at the margins, look at what sort of money you're talking about. There's obviously complexities and all of that. Somebody's got to go take it and cut it and pack it and ship it and blah, blah, blah. But that scale, the understanding of scaling and factoring of scaling for manufacturing purposes, that came from there. That's where I learned a lot of. I got that inherent understanding of.
And you got to see that in the context of a large company as well.
Why they build this way, why they design that way, why they chose these components instead of those components. I got to see a myriad of and it's a huge company.
Of
it's
course,
a huge database
yeah.
and we also got involved in the professional stuff. We built a studio as well. We won a contract and we went into the studio for the university there as well. So it was an intense 2 years of my life where I got a big wake-up call to corporate world and what it's all about. Okay, not from a bad perspective, from a you got to catch up.
What point, and it may have been after Sony, of course, but fast forwarding just slightly, at what point did you decide that maybe you were going to start going down the entrepreneurial route?
I started working basically from home, doing repair work and stuff like that, and then I got involved in custom making of small PCBs, just different keychain type things, right?
Yeah. I'm guessing somebody said, "Hey, can you do this?" And you're like, "I can do this."
Exactly.
Problem solver. Go ahead.
Yeah. Web was starting out then. Put up a web page, and we're doing this. And next thing you know, people are,
you got orders.
Coming in, and you're struggling. Okay, that was the start of my manufacturing experience because I had no idea. We hit on a beautiful idea. It exploded, and we're like, oh, now we've got to make this thing, right? Because we made a prototype, it worked, and everyone was like, "Oh wow, we want that." And in emails and stuff, a guy from Canada.
What year was this, by the way, roughly?
Early 2000s.
Okay, yeah. So prior to the tech bubble, like 2002.
Yes.
Okay,
exactly.
Go ahead.
And a Canadian gentleman contacted us and said he read the whole situation. He knew that we were looking for some help, and basically said, "Look, I've got facilities. If you're interested," and emailed it back. Took a big risk at that point because we could see the demand, and I believed in the idea, and flew off to Canada and basically learned all about production and started production from there.
And how long that experience last before the next? I'm just curious.
That went for just the actual we made a couple of products. It wasn't just one. Okay, that went for a couple of years. It did okay. It was good experience. It was a good learning, but it also set me on a path of once you've
learned at that point.
Once you've done something on your own with partners, with friends and family, because that's how I work. Friends, family, and partners. I have a weird way of working because ever since then, from 2000, I have worked with, in some cases, people I've never met. Okay, for 20 years. 20 years.
Amazing.
Never met and worked, but nightly and coding and we're a diverse team of people around the world as we speak today. Same people that I was with back then, they're with me today, right? And we've made some really incredible stuff in terms of technological work that we do. electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. Magnet is one of the other inventions that, again, same team, same people, we put together. I love it. It's a simple idea, right? Just use magnets to leverage rotational motion in order to lock a lid. Okay, so pick up a sugar jar and somebody didn't tighten it properly and it fell down on the floor and it broke, and it happened once. I was like, and it happened the second time. I was like, surely I could just throw the damn thing on there and it'll lock the damn lid and I can pick it up and it'll never do that. And that started a whole 10-year patenting exercise. I learned all about patenting though.
Wow.
And that was again experience, because I learned about magnets, right? And that brings us to here.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's a great transition. Let's get into your present day project. So first off, how did the idea for Arc Dynamics, how did that even come about, the current project?
The call out was, look, I'm looking for something to do, a new project, something to work on. And one of the things that came out was Johnny, a friend of mine, been around for many years in Cyprus, and visits and helps out. He's into his gaming, and he's also somebody I noticed as a trend follower. He seems to be right there.
He knows what's coming up.
Yeah, and he just follows it right there.
Yeah.
And he's into his high risk sport things and that sort of things. He likes it. Older now, so he takes it a bit calmer. But he was doing his trikes and whatever the three-wheeler skilling bikes and stuff. So he was into his e-biking and stuff like that, and he liked it. And then he came in and he was like, look, there's nothing in motion simulation for gaming. I was like, my initial thing was that can't
be true.
Can't be true. Surely there's something. He goes, no, there's nothing, and there's nothing. I said, all right, do come back to me with some numbers or something. Because the cheapest you can find is like $6,000, right, for a 6-staff. And back then, somebody says 6-staff to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
And that's just 4 years ago. So it's been intense, right? I could see the motivation, right? It's an obvious thing. If you add motion to gaming, surely it's worth something. And if you do it at a good price, right? If you're looking at $6,000 and a big, huge monstrosity of a machine.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to put that where? And to do what? Move at 10 hertz, because that's the first thing I saw. I looked at the machine. I just went to the set sign and I looked. I said, okay, that's why that's $6,000. It's because they're using big, huge gearboxes like this, right? So, I said, look, there and then I said, are you sure there's nobody who's doing? Because I looked at it and I was like, surely we can do direct drive. It was immediate to me. Like I saw the gearbox. I'm like, well, why are they using gearboxes? Just put direct drive motors like they do in hoverboards, because the hoverboard motors are direct drive motors. And I said, are you sure no one's done that? He said, no. So I'm like, well, we should try and do that then. Get me 3 hoverboards, because I need 6 motors. So get me 3 hoverboards. We bought second-hand. Honestly, we bought second-hand hoverboard motors. I got Mihaly to do a basic frame to lay out for us. We went to a friend of ours who's got some steel and cut it up. Honestly, literally just cut pieces of steel, put them together, welded what we had and put everything to it. When you see the pictures, we should actually get the pictures at some point. But Mihaly did the code as well. We got it to actually respond. I did a lot of work on the motor controllers and stuff. I was doing tests and lifting up weights on the desks and typical, tinkerer in the moment, working and trying to figure out what's the best path to get this thing to do what we expect it to do. We got to a point where, we had all 6 motors running, working, because we had to convert them and put encoders and all those sorts of stuff on there. And I stood on it. I got it to set up in a set motion going up and down, and I stood on it and it lifted me up. I videoed it and I sent it off to Mihaly. I was like, technically at that point, and we had a big debate and we still argue about it, but I believe I'm right. This is magnetic levitation, right? Because that's what I saw. When we said direct drive, and I started thinking about it, I was like, well, when you take 6 direct drive motors, and the only thing that produces motion is the motor drum moving, and that's a magnetic drum, then you're linking those 6 mechanically together. If you take the linkages out, if you just evaporate them for a second in your mind, and you just see these little motors rotating. Well, every rotation, every movement translates to a movement of the table, and those movements can only happen from electromagnetic pulses. Therefore, this is, magnetic levitation of a format. Right?
Yes.
My partner in Cyprus disagrees with me. The AI sort of agrees, but it's a hack, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, we got it to work. We could lift us up. It could move us, but it was overheating very quickly, right? So the invention, the time when you turn around and say, well, now you need to go speak to lawyers and get things patented, is that step. Is where the first step is putting the direct drive in. Okay,
yes.
That's easy. You might get something there, but once you've done it and then you find the problem, which is the heat, and then you solve that problem, well, now you've got the inventive step, right? So now you can go and try and get that protected and then carry on. And we did all of that in that sense, right? We got that to work with the compensation. It worked out beautifully. And then, when we started to actually investigate what we had achieved, I'm still year 4 today, and it's amazing me.
Yeah.
It's generating.
How long ago was that,
output.
by the way? How long ago was that? So that point of that first, we'll call it, I don't know if I should use the word prototype, but that first step.
The
Like putting all the steel together, getting all that.
3 years ago, I think.
Wow.
Three.
I'm blown away, because for me to think about like what I actually was in the other day, like versus like that step in 3 years.
I can't explain to you the amount of. There's synchronicities, right? There's what we call synchronicities, and I'll explain it in a way that I think will make some sense. And that what we got onto, right, was we wanted to make an affordable, very affordable, because that was the whole thing, was get it down to a price.
What does that word mean, by the way? Like affordable? And I know you're not at final production or anything like that, but like what's a goal when you say affordable?
Well, I think we've hit it at the moment at 3.5. I think 3.5 for the robot on its own, and then 5.5 for the robot with the racing. It's not just the racing frame, right?
Yeah.
It is the racing frame in combination with the last 3 years of comprehension, understanding, tuning, and integration into the game, right? So when you get the racing rig, you're also going to get the fact that, I can give you this machine as it is, all right? Have fun with it, honestly. It's beautiful. I love it to bits. It has what we talk about when we say about these synchronicities, in that we're finding more and more benefits to it, right? So the fact that we needed to compensate the electromagnetics because of the heat generation, because you got gravity working on you all the time, right? With the pneumatics, so we compensate the electromagnetics with the pneumatics, automatically made the system extremely efficient at one very important part that we didn't comprehend until, and we're still not comprehending, to be honest with you. And I think there's going to be a lot of scientific development in this arena now, in vibrational areas. So we're able to vibrate you at frequencies that go beyond your conscious perception. You're not able. So we can go all the way up. So you can feel, from a low, high amplitude frequency all the way up to like 1,000 hertz. Okay, which is more, you're going to hear that. You're not really going to feel it, but trust me, even at 0.1 millimeters, if I'm vibrating, it's quite an intense transfer of energy. Is another way of seeing it. I spoke to you last night when you got off the system. I said, just pay attention to how you're feeling, right? Because of all of that energy, it's a lot of energy being moved into you as you're driving, and you're synchronizing, right, to the whole game. You're inside of that. I think you noticed it yesterday, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got in, you were a little bit more blasé until you had the first accident. And then
which was the very first turn. I was like, come on, all right, there go my F1 days.
But it does that. It brings you in very quickly, and that's the part that really is getting into my, the stuff that is exciting me now is the aspects to what is possible tomorrow with the system in combination with AI. It's scary in some ways, and I've had these conversations at length with AI. There's an ethics issue, and we need to be careful there. But when you combine what we have with AI and VR, Well, technically there's no way for your brain to say anything other than whatever the system says, right? So if I wanted to take you to the Sermon on the Mount, it's an easy example because everyone knows that it's possible. It's possible to actually make you believe that you were there and that you saw and you witnessed it.
Yeah.
And you can do this. Yes, you can do it to a certain degree if you're sitting down with VR, it's sort of believable. When you add vibration beyond conscious perception, explain to me how can your brain say anything other? Your ears are covered, your eyes are covered, and your whole body is sitting in a system that's replicating any form of motion. So boats, trains, skateboards, surfboards.
And in this case, the racing experience, the gaming experience. So circling back to the development side. So now, just taking us through these, let's say, iterations. So now you've solved some serious problems that you needed to with the heating. What's next? Like, what's next on your path of development?
Okay, so again, sticking to the core fundamental, which is affordable.
Yeah.
I had fights after fights after fights because you got to stick to
affordable. That's the game.
It was a beautiful system. We were new to the industry. We got to be humble to some degree and say, look, we can't go and attack. I mean, we knew we could perform some amazing things.
Of course.
But you didn't have the complete comprehension, the software, the integration, comprehension, because there's multiple stages of comprehension, right? So you come across the first problem, like we said, the heat. Right? So how are we going to solve it? We're going to use pneumatics. Okay, cool. So how are we going to get the pneumatics to be affordable, first of all, right? First things first, proof of concept. Proof that your idea is going to work. And do that, again, affordably and as efficiently as possible. Out comes the refrigerator compressor. Right? I'll explain. So we bought gas struts. That was the easiest thing we knew at the time to use. Now, gas struts are very thin. Now, gas struts are the ones that you use on your bonnet of your car or the boot of your car when you open it and and that thing can open up, those things. So we were using those, right? And these, you could buy them off Amazon, and they supposedly programmable in that they give you a little valve to allow the gas out, so you can adjust how much weight they must compensate. Yeah, you can have one adjustment. All right, so you need to find a way to put air back in there. I needed very high pressures because they work with very small cylinders, right? So buying a compressor that could do something like that was going to cost me thousands. A fridge compressor from an old fridge can do the job perfectly well. So repurpose the fridge compressor. Then we had the issue of the valves. There was no valves that could handle the pressures that we're dealing with. A Mercedes-Benz valve block from a suspension block works pretty well if you reinforce
I feel like
it.
that's fortuitous. I mean, it's a car game. It's cars.
We were
parts from Mercedes
drawing from everywhere just to get proof of concept, and then after that, it was, honestly, AliExpress was my friend. You go in there and you do a generalized search for the type of industry that you're looking for, right? And I do that a lot. I look to industry and say, all right, what do I want to solve? Pneumatics, all right, let's go into the pneumatics industry now. It's not an easy one because it's not mass, right? But it does exist, and we found the cylinders, we found valves that would. We didn't ever find the exact valve we wanted, so we redesigned it. Once we figured out enough about the whole valves and the mechanics behind them and how they get designed and what are the do's and don'ts about the CNCs of the valve block and all that stuff, all right. And we just designed our own and we got it working. So custom now, design valve block. Then they came to the compressor. The compressor, well, the first thing I thought was 12-volt compressor from a car. That's the ones that you got for backup. But they're noisy, they're slow, they don't have enough. We looked around and we found a very good modern system that they use in dentistry or dentist's office. So it's quiet, it's got a high volume and a good pressure. Brushless as well, so you don't have as much maintenance. Decent price. Again, I do everything I can. I build relationships. I don't go in and just walk into a factory and say, hey, can I have this, and then walk away. Every factory that I've been with from the beginning. They've been building this with me. right? So that they know exactly what went wrong at the time of, putting together the proof of concept.
Yeah.
So you basically fault finding, debugging with the factory real time. So they're also learning from you, right? And you learning from your own mistakes and what have you. But yeah, we've cycled through a few motor iterations, a few motor plates, that sort of things. We cycled through the machine. I think we're on 11th version at the moment. But this, for me, by the way, is second. This is how I've always worked.
Yes.
Right. It's the idea, and then get the proof, and then look at them getting it into market at the best possible price. Okay. So decisions are all made on costings first and foremost. Have to necessity. I try not to burden the average customer. I try to put what's necessary on the product and then leave options for those who want to. So this is one of the decisions we made, is that we were working with a fixed frame. So the frame that you sat in yesterday, the tabletop, as we call it a tabletop now, but if you look at a lot of other motion systems, what they opted to do was to create a frame that you sit in, and then they move the frame.
Yes.
Yeah. We started that in that. We followed the industry, right? You're not going to go and then say. So we followed the industry. We chose to use their design, and then at some point I said, no, this is not going to work out for us. We had so much more force to deal with. We were dealing with things that they didn't have to even think about. While they were looking at acceleration, we were looking at after acceleration. There's impact, and then there's snap, and then there's multiple layers on top of just acceleration, right? And that's again the brilliance of the system that we have, is that it's not.
And that's why it feels so real.
Yeah, it's not just that we track it. We don't track it. We track acceleration. In other words, we're sitting on top of the acceleration curve, and we're saying, right, they're forward and back, right? So we're actually we giving effects today that honestly I can't even. I mean, I can explain them, but I'm struggling to. It
feels real. I mean, it just feels real.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it feels real. Like when you hit something, else. I know, because when I went off that curve, I was not expecting. I was expecting that fixed frame experience, and then I was like, wait a minute. I just feel like, wait a minute. This is actually taking me through the grass. Like, I don't know if I had to pick a little bit of grass out of my teeth on one of those. I don't know, but it feels real.
It has the essence of what is needed to make it feel real, put it that way, in that it's able to move you just as a normal vehicle could move you, right? So when you think of the problem at hand, right, a motion simulation or a motion simulator, it's by definition got to be small and not big. And nobody sees that, and it amazes me, because the bigger you are, well, the further, more mass you've got to move, first of all, but the further you've got to go. But a motion simulator never goes, right? It's a motion simulator. Rule number one, it doesn't actually go.
Yeah.
So it's got to come back. So it's not about how far or how big. It's about how much power and how fast. And when you exceed a certain speed of reactionness, in other words, your forward and back exceeds what the brain can process, well, I've exceeded what you can process, right? So now what's left is what the game is doing. And that's something we've been striving to do, is be as transparent as possible to so the game developer develops the game with the true physics. We taking the true physics and we translating the true physics. That opens us up to a whole other world, by the way. Because that now means we can do things like take live telemetry from the F1 driver in the car and give you that experience at home with that driver. The driver can have like 300 passengers and nobody will know, right? But you will be in that vehicle with the driver real time. And that will be really incredible.
That does sound incredible. When did you know that this could be a business, like an actual business that was worth pursuing?
Because of the enhancement, right? You're enhancing gaming. In any way you want to say it, you're enhancing gaming, right? So that was huge. And then the price point. The fact that I could see from very early on that we could reach a what I would consider at the time affordable price point. And the way I worked that was just looking at gaming peripherals, right? A steering, top of the range steering wheels like $2,000, $2,700, right? If you combine that with the actual wheel, that's just the motor base. The wheel's another like $200, $300. And then the pedals could be like $500. So you're looking, I just looked at all of that, right?
Yeah.
And I just said, right, then the gaming PC, and then and you've got your graphics cards and stuff like that. And I set a point in my mind that I said, if we can get to this point, cost of manufacturing, then we're good.
Yeah.
And it would translate to what I'm trying to do now, which is go direct to market. So the $3,500 price point is solely for early adopters, people who we want to sign on that'll help us develop in any way. It's not about being technical, it's about understanding where this can go. There's biohacking, there's a whole range. But gaming was an obvious one because it's the easiest one to show people. And we've done that, I believe, right? I mean, I'm not going to go into ages, but I have a 21-year-old son, and my wife, who's been with me all along, she's in some cases top 50, top 10 in the world, online racing.
Wow.
And that was built up over time, right?
So like the gaming, talk to me about the numbers in that industry.
I'm not even going to begin to give you. I mean, it's in the tens of billions for sure, and it all depends on how you look at it. Because, when you start looking at simulator, it's one thing, because simulator gaming can include airplanes as well, right? So, and that's huge. It's actually. I think still today, technically, I think it's a bigger market than the...
for sure.
So airplane, because there's a lot of people like doing a private pilot license, and they need to do...
They need the hours. So it's forced.
Yeah.
It's forced, I understand.
So from the gaming side, the numbers are huge, and it's exploding.
Talk to me about the vision of growing the company going forward. Like, what are you looking for? Is it capital? Is it investors? Is it talk to me about that piece of things.
So up until about now, we've been looking mainly for strategic partnerships, right? There's many vertices that can be launched concurrently, but all depends on choosing the right partners to do so. The company and its mission, just from my logic, the way I think the most logical way to do it is, it's an invention, there's a technological transfer, there's an information transfer that needs to occur, right? It's a big machine. No matter what you want to do, it's holding a human, it's a big machine. There's safety concerns, there's shipping concerns, there's service concerns, so to me, the obvious path was go to the people first and foremost. Take the technology, get it as affordable as you can, and give it to the tinkerers of the world, people like me. And there's lots of us, right? And let them help make it into what you envision it, right? So you grow a community from a grassroots type of event. So we've done everything we can to bring the price point down to where we can give it to people who are interested in the technology to take it from here and make it into something really incredible, and do that on a one-to-one. So it's B2C, right? So we're going directly to our community and saying, look, come jump in. Right, I'm not sure if this is the first time this has been done. Right, but to take a technology of this nature and to bring it to the world in this way, I believe, is the fairest way to do it. Because what you're doing is you're giving the technology a chance to, or people to grow on top of your technology from day one, right? You don't really need, I mean, that's all licensing stuff that I don't really worry too much about that at the moment. What I'm more concerned about is people getting to work with the technology, know it, understand it, and then those guys actually spread out and become either in the future service members, service staff, distribution, sales, because people got friends, people got man caves, you set up a system, you're going to have 10 friends who are going to want, and that's, a path, it's a sales channel in the future. but it's also a service channel. It's also a way for us to train globally people in the technology and the understanding and what's needed by hands-on. Grab the first unit, put it in your house, learn how to play it. Now you're trained.
Yeah.
Okay. Then tomorrow it's like, okay, guys, look, my dream is to get to 100,000 tinkerers working with the system around the world. All right, and that community working together to launch off the different vertices or different projects that they find, and it goes down to a lower level, right? So we did certain things, very specific decisions, like the motor controller being open source, right? We're going to publish many of the design files that we have, all right? Some of the software has to, for basic safety reasons, be kept secure, but the majority of the core elements needed to build either a new system or your own server or another robot or whatever, all of those will be on the open source basis, but with a small little catch, which I think is an important method of future production in this scale. In other words, you take a community of tinkerers, developers, and you find a way to get them to get their product or their idea out into the market, and China makes money, they make money, and the consumer's happy. At the moment, what you have is brilliant idea published on the open. China takes it, makes a lot of money, and you got to donate here for the guys who made the idea.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that I want, and I think we can change. And it just comes with hardware authenticity and being very decent to your customer, right? So if you are planning from now to release updates to your system and maintain your system, maintain its ecosystem, maintain a coherent, functional product, that means that every so many months you're going to be releasing software, right? So that's yours. Now, the only thing you need is to know that you're working on your hardware. That's it. Nothing else, right? Because if you got that and you got that buttoned down, then what happens is if somebody does copy your hardware and try to imitate you, or then you don't let your future updates work on that hardware, that's all, right? Sorry, don't copy me. Otherwise your stuff ain't gonna work, right? I've done this a few times in my life, right? I've come up with 7 or 8 international good selling products, right? That every single one of them got copied, all right? The later copies, the guys who copied closed up shop.
Yeah.
Because we could authenticate ourselves and therefore we could update only ourselves, all right? And the people who went and bought the clones or the cheaper stuff were left out with no software or no updates, and they didn't get the latest features, and they've got upset and like, no, send it back. You send enough product back, nobody's making money, they stop copying you. So this whole thing of China and copying and making more, it's solved. And I'm confident with it. It's going to happen. They're going to copy. There's going to be, but over time, people will figure out that don't buy non-original, it's not worth it. And it's also a matter of being decent, right? You don't price gouge. Just because you can find something cheap doesn't mean you can mark it up, right? If you find it cheap, give a fair markup, you're handling it, you're doing services, you're doing this and that, and give it out to your customer. That avoids the motivation by China to, you know how many people have come to me and said, oh, you can sell this for 100,000. I'm like, of course I can. I could sell it for $1 million, $2 million. It outperforms a $12 million product by 4 times. Wow. It is 4 times better than the latest advertised $12 million simulator by Ferrari. By specifications, right? Actual specifications. Our outputs are 4 times better than theirs.
Wow.
And we're selling it for $3,500. But it's because of the way we got there. And the mission was affordable, affordable, affordable. And I fought tooth and nail to keep the costings down. We've negotiated with the factories, by the way. We've done work here on behalf of our future community, knowing full well that this is a potential good path. The other path all right, is the traditional path, which is the investor path, the go to the money, in which case it's a viable, and there's vertices that will go that path by necessity. I feel that today corporate gets dictated to too much by money and forgets the customer. So one of my missions is to bring this in to be a customer-centric corporation. In other words, focus on the customer, bring good products to market, right, and service them via a community network, right? So use the community to leverage information, right? What do people want? How do they want it done? Why is this? That's what you want the community. You want them engaged, and you want them feeding back to you, so you are growing this company in the right direction. And if there's a way in the future, we're discussing, we've put it down to, sorry, I'm just thinking, if there's a way in the future, we're planning to bring this into a DAO, all right, so decentralized autonomous organization, where the community is part of the DAO. So you by buying one of our dev kits or products in the future, you're automatically a member of that community, right? So that then gives you some voice in how what we're planning, what are we thinking now, is that if we use the DAO as a governance of the corporate in the future, then money is not dictating, all right? It's people and what they want, and it's your users, right? So you're engaging, and it's trying to bring the whole thing into a more closed and common-minded. That's the other thing I noticed, is that, you know, when you put people who have common interests together, beautiful things happen. Creativity comes from that, right? You see that, I see that. You put people with common mindsets together and you get some amazing outputs. So yeah, I'm trying to leverage that. I'm not saying no to corporate, I'm not saying no to investors. I'm being very strategic with who we choose to go with. I think that's more important. I think the gift of the invention of the idea is a gift, and it is a gift for all of humanity, not just for me, or not just for the ones that are involved now. I believe this idea has potential to change millions of people's lives in a positive way. There's stuff we've come across, discoveries that we've made in the last 3 months even, that are profound. They really are amazing, and validated through the AI and stuff like that. And once we get the hardware into people's hands, I believe more discoveries will be made.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, I have to say, first off, this has been wonderful having you on the show today and having this dialogue, and I'm excited to see the continued application, and I can't wait to see this community built, because one of my favorite things about doing this is bringing this to our audience. I mean, you heard it first here, and when we see this thing grow, and as we see it even go further than some of the things I've already seen, amazing. So for everybody at home, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, don't forget, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Louis, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you
so much.